Great. All right. Can you all hear me okay? Fine. Welcome. Thank you. My name is Terry Lenahan. I'm the mayor of North Plains. Like many Americans, I remember what I was doing and where I was at, and I'll never forget it. September 11th, 2001. We are honored and privileged to have these families and survivors in our community today. Their tragedy is our tragedy. Today, we offer our space to the families and the survivors so that they can share their stories and their opinions, and we honor their First Amendment right. So I'm going to turn this over to them. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. You know, 20 years ago, most people in this country vowed to never forget what happened on 9/11. 20 years ago, we came together as a country, as a community, and people from all across America knew that we shared a common enemy, and that was evil. That was the evil that visited us that day. Never would I imagine that I would have to be here with 10 other 9/11 family members flying across the country to speak out against American golfers who are getting in bed with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the kingdom which our own FBI says facilitated the murder of our loved ones. It's shameful, it's disgraceful, and this should never have been allowed to happen. And our message today is very clear. These golfers that are getting in bed with the Saudis, they should know what they're doing, and it's shame on them. And to the golfers that say it's just a game of golf, shame on them. I invite them to look at the pain in our eyes, hear our stories, and walk in our shoes, hear what we have to say about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, hear what we have to say about our own FBI, our government's own documents that say that they facilitated the hijackers on 9/11, and then choose to make that decision. Choose to go play with the Saudis after knowing what we all have to share. So I just want to say again, thank you to the people of Oregon. Thank you. We've been met with just an incredible outpouring of support here in this state. And, you know, from our family to yours, thank you for having us, and thank you for allowing us to be here to share our thoughts. And I want to turn it over to some of the other 9/11 family members who have a lot more important things to say.
Good morning, all. Thank you again for having us. My name is Tim Frolick. I was a severely injured survivor in the attack on 9/11. I worked in the South Tower on the 80th floor. I was fortunate to escape with my life. Unfortunately, I was injured in collapse of that building. My reason for speaking to you today is many reasons, really. But first, I want to talk about what's really going on here. This event is nothing more than a group of very talented athletes who appear to have turned their backs on the crime of murder. They apparently do not care and do not understand that 3,000 family members were wiped out and killed on that day 21 years ago. And to this day, we still have members, rescue workers dying from health-related issues as a result of 9/11. These golfers, 9/11 families at this point in time are not asking for empathy. We're not asking for people to stand up and say, well, we'll offer you that and we'll offer you prayers. What we're asking for is some form of justice. And I ask that you all please log on to 911justice.org and read the documents. Our own FBI has finally stepped up with the help of the Biden administration and offered us these documents that clearly implicate the Saudis and the murder of what happened almost 21 years ago. Justice can also be found in the truth. And in those documents that are now out there, the truth is there. That is our own FBI saying, this is what they did, and this is how they plotted, and this is how they murdered many thousands of people. As the United States of America approaches the celebration of Independence Day this weekend, my question to these golfers is, do any of you have the guts to be independent thinkers, to stand up and look at exactly what you're doing in taking blood money and sports washing as a result of the murder of 3,000 people 21 years ago? Let's be independent thinkers. You've been bought off. You've made a decision. Now at least sit with us, meet with us, talk to us about what the facts and what has happened here in the last 21 years. Again, I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you for your support.
My name is Sean Pasananti. My father's name is Horace Pasananti. My father worked on the 100th floor of the North Tower for Marsh & McLennan. He was 55 years old. He started his career working for Travelers Insurance Company in East Meadow, New York, where he used to play golf across the street at Eisenhower Park. My father loved golf, and we used to watch golf all the time. My memories as a kid of watching golf were Jack Nicklaus never missing a putt on the 18th green. Some of my greatest memories were playing golf with my dad. He loved bombing drives more than anything. One time we got stuck in a lightning storm at Bethpage and had to run for our lives up the 18th hole. The last time I saw my father was on my birthday, June 10, 2001. We played golf at a links course called Tall Grass in Shoreham, New York, that's no longer there. We went out to eat afterwards, and then I showed him my house I was in the process of buying. My dad was an excellent carpenter and told me all the things he was going to do to fix up the house. Spending time on the golf course with my dad, I will always cherish the memories. Golf is an honorable game, and most players would rather call a penalty on themselves than win by cheating. Saudi Arabia is trying to sports wash their reputation. Instead of admitting their support and funding of Al-Qaeda, they are trying through the honorable game of golf to buy legitimacy. I would like to thank the players who are staying with the PGA Tour. They are setting a good example by saying that money can't buy everything.
Hi, my name is Nicole Pasananti. Horace Passananti was supposed to be my grandfather, but along with thousands of other kids, my sisters and I were robbed of him before we were born. I know a lot of things about my grandpa, but none of his stories have been told by him, but instead by his dad. I realized last week that I had never even heard the sound of his voice, so my dad played an old message from him. Although I was robbed from meeting my grandpa, I miss him so much, and I know he's watching me.
It's very easy to read the names of those lost on 9/11 without personal connection and simply hear a name. But behind every name from 9/11 is a human being, a life lived, a life lost, and a family robbed of its loved ones. My father, Denise Scouso, was in FDNY Hazard Materials Company 1, and he was one of the 343 firefighters that sacrificed his life in the rescue efforts. My father died a hero, and our family left behind my mother, a widow in her 30s, now with 4 young children to raise by herself, and we were all robbed of a life without my father. After 9/11, this country and the American people swore to never forget. Well, here we are, nearly 21 years later, with no justice, and the responsible parties are being allowed to operate on American soil with impunity. It is shameful, it is wrong, it is hurtful, and we deserve justice.
Hello everyone, my name is Gabriella Scouso. I'm the sister of Juliette Scouso, and our father, Dennis Scouso, was murdered on 9/11. I've always dreamed about coming to the state of Oregon, but I never thought I'd be coming for this reason. As we were going to our lodgings last night, a woman said to us, "Isn't 9/11 kind of old news?" I believe that the mass murder of thousands of innocent people should never be considered old news, especially when the countries that have facilitated this attack have never been held accountable. While the events of 9/11, both in time and geography, may seem far from your beautiful state of Oregon, it is still a fresh and deep wound for many of us victims and those of us on the East Coast. But we also know that the Saudi atrocities are not isolated to the city of New York, as Oregon has faced its own injustices in the case of Fallon Smart, whose killer, because of Saudi Arabia's intervention, has never been held accountable for his actions. Now, I could go on about my father, about how charismatic and wonderful a man he was, and how the world, I'm sorry guys, I'm a crybaby, how the world is a worse place because he's not in it. But thank you. And how these events have impacted me, and as well as many of the amazing people here in such tremendous ways. We all have moments that irrevocably change our lives and define who we are as people, and I'm sure all of you have those moments as well. That was this moment for me. For better or worse, 9/11 was one of those moments for me and many others who stand here today. As a child, your parents are your whole world, and my dad was mine. In his firehouse, he lost 19 men, and that left over 50 children without fathers to be there for their birthdays and graduations and those moments that they should have. We often forget that those names were living, breathing people, and they deserve our justice and they deserve accountability. I'm going to leave you with this. While I would love to go on about what a wonderful man my father was, I find it ironic that one of his favorite movies was The Princess Bride, and in it there is a character who never stopped seeking justice for the murder of his father. And I'm going to do the same for mine. And I thank all of you who stand in support of us and support of our cause, and those who do not. I hope that you take a deep look at yourself and the values you stand for. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Denise Aiken. I was 8 years old when my father, Terrence Aiken, was killed in the 97th floor of the North Tower. And I can sit here, I can talk to you about politics, I can talk to you about money, all of those things, but what I really want to know, and I want to ask everyone to consider who is considering to take this money, is what if it was your family? What if it was your loved one in that building? What if it was your mother, your child, your father, your sister, your brother? They never found my father's body. And now my father is just an engraving on a memorial. I mean, he's more to me, but that is what the culmination of all of this is. So I really want to ask everyone to consider what it means to you to take this money. You can get money anywhere. You're talented people. You can always find ways to make money. So really take some time to consider if it was you and there was no justice, there was no accountability. In fact, you found out years later there was more to the story that you weren't being told. What would you do? Because I know that if the shoe was on the other foot and if I was in that building, my father would be standing here today advocating for my life. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting and listening to our stories.
My name is Kimberly Aiken. That's my daughter, Therese Aiken. My two sons stand behind me, Kanan and Andre Aiken. My husband was 30 years old when he died in the towers that day. He started September 4th, IT, from Marsh McLennan. He was a smart guy. He was a talented guy. He was an athletic guy. Played basketball in the Philippines for a little bit. No one would ever told me when we met in college in our 20s and got married when we were in our early 20s and started having children that I wouldn't have him anymore. I wouldn't have him to help me raise my children. Wouldn't have him to see them all graduate college. And I stand here before you because I find it hard to move on. I find it hard to move on because there's no justice, because there's no accountability. And all these wonderful families behind me, they feel the same way. We just want justice. We want accountability for what happened. I mean, this touch, you may not think it, and people have forgotten, but this has touched all of our lives, all American lives. So just to say that it's okay to move forward, it's okay for the Saudis to come and play golf with us and hold hand in hand, it's not right to the families that were directly affected. Last night, a woman said in the elevator of our hotel, she said, 9/11, I thought that was old news. It's not old news to us. These families are still hurting. We just want justice. We just want the truth. We want accountability so we can all move on and we can all try to move forward with our lives. That's all we're asking. That's all we're asking. Thank you so much to all of you that are supporting us. Thank you to all of you that if you hadn't, from this message, you will try and do something to help support our families. We appreciate it. All the families appreciate it. Thank you so much, and thank you, Oregon. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Dennis McGinley. Just like a lot of these golfers, they're hitting their stride in their careers and in their family lives. My brother Danny McGinley, he was hitting his stride in his career and his life as well. He and his wife Peggy had just given birth to their 5th child. They just moved into their dream home in Ridgewood, New Jersey. That was horrifically ended on the 89th floor of the South Tower on 9/11. Our FBI has turned over documents that show that the Saudi government was directly involved and responsible for 9/11. We just wish that these golfers, would just stand with us, right? Put their fellow citizens, their country ahead of Saudi Arabia and money. I saw on the news this morning, some of these golfers, they say, hey, look, we're just golfers, right? We just hit a little white ball. But I think they're more than that. I think they're American citizens and they're human beings. And again, I just wish they would just give that some more thought and, really consider what they're doing and just, think of us. And again, just want to thank all of you for having us. Thank you, Oregon. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andre Aiken. I'm the youngest son of Terrence Aiken. They say I carry his looks. I was 3 years old at the time, so I carry the burden of not remembering him. I remember growing up in classes in school and watching footage of 9/11 and all the other kids, to them it was a tragedy that happened in our country, but they were too young to remember it. soon as I was old enough to realize that my father wasn't home, and then to realize why he was never around, I realized that my pain and this scar isn't just mine to carry. And because of the actions of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, there were a lot of pivotal moments that my father couldn't be there for. I'll never know the sound of his voice, the feeling of him hugging me. He was taken from me, and so he wasn't there to buy me my first car, to be there to see me graduate from high school and from college. These aren't just faceless victims that were lost on a terrible day. These were people that had lives and had futures. My father went there to try to give his family a better future, and he was robbed of that. So for me to see 20 years later, to see those very same people responsible think that they can come in and think that they could just bide their time like nothing happened, is very hard for me to see. And I would also like to thank all the athletes who have decided for themselves that their silence can't be bought and that they're not just athletes and they can stand for something bigger. Thank you.
Again, thank you all. At this point, we'll open it up if there are any questions. We're happy to take any questions. So none of the golfers have actually had the courage to reach out to us or talk to us. None of the golfers, I think I speak on all of us, none of the golfers have reached out to us to apologize, to give their side of the story, or try to explain why it is that they're doing what they're doing. Some of the comments that they make about, oh, it's just golf, or, oh, I'm just here to better my family, those are callous, shameful comments. Those comments hurt us. You know, you just listen to really emotional, heartfelt stories from all these 9/11 families, and to say that it's just a game of golf just shows their ignorance. You know, part of me doesn't blame. You know, some of these golfers have no idea that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia carpet bombs Yemen, that they murder homosexuals, that they persecute women, that they killed journalist Jamal Khashoggi, that they sent their government officials here to the United States, Saudi intelligence operatives here in the United States years before to orchestrate and plan and support the hijackers. None of these golfers know that, and it's our job to bring that message to the world and to these golfers. And if after they know all this and realize all this and still agree to take the Saudi money, well, then we've said our piece, we've done our job, and that's between them and their maker. And let them sleep at night knowing what we know, hearing our stories, and seeing the pain in our eyes.
Eagleson, have you tried to meet with them here?
We would.
I mean, as a group?
We tried to catch them at the hotel this morning, and we were kicked out. So one of them tried to, one of our family members tried to flag down one of the golfers, and their security guard asked us to leave and leave them alone.
Was that in Portland?
That was at the Nines Hotel. We actually saw a few of them staying at the Nines Hotel.
Can you say your name and your story as well?
Sure. My name is Brett Eagleson, and my dad was on the 17th floor of the South Tower. We actually called him after the second plane had hit, so my dad survived the initial attacks. My oldest brother Kyle pleaded with him on the phone to get out of the building. My father said that he would, but that he wanted to ensure that everybody on his floor was okay. And the last that we knew about my dad was he was in the lobby of the South Tower of the World Trade Center, and he was with a colleague. And my dad turned back and he looked in the lobby and he saw the carnage, he saw the pandemonium, he saw the chaos, and he told his colleague, and we know all this because he told his colleague to get outside the building, go, and he said he's going to go back up to the 17th floor to grab portable two-way radios, because my dad was part of the mall management crew there, and they had those walkie-talkie radios. So my dad recognized that the FDNY was having a really hard time communicating. That's one of the lessons that was learned that day, was the communication. The cell phone towers, the cell phones were jammed. The firefighters couldn't talk to the other firefighters. So my dad told his colleague to leave. He said he was going to go back up to the 17th, grab the radios, bring them to the FDNY command post, and make sure there's nobody in the way that needed help. And that was his last known whereabouts. He was probably somewhere in the stairs when the building fell on him, and myself, like countless other family members, have never recovered even a trace of him. And we honor him by going to a fake grave site in Connecticut.
What was your dad's name?
My dad's name was Bruce Eagleson.
And his occupation?
He worked for Westfield Retail Malls.
You guys here the whole weekends through Saturday? And
we wish we could be, because this state is so great and everyone has been so nice, but we have to leave today. But we are going to be in Bedminster, and I think one important message to these LIV golfers and to the kingdom is that we're not going anywhere. Every tournament you're going to have to deal with us in bigger numbers, more stories from the families. We're going to be in your face for every tournament that is on U.S. soil. This is an attack. Just like they attacked us on American soil, the Saudis now have the audacity to come here, buy our players, whitewash, sports wash, distract us, and try to have their tournament on our soil. Well, you're going to be met by us every single stop.
On Independence Weekend. On Independence Day weekend.
Evan Schreiber here from KT News in the local area here. Safe to assume that none of you live in the local area?
No, we're all from the East Coast.
Ask you, was there any hesitation about coming cross country?
No.
Never.
No.
Zero. Absolutely not.
No. We all wanted to be heard. We all wanted to be heard. There was no hesitation. Brett actually called us a couple of days before we had to leave, and we all rearranged our schedules, and we said we're coming out here. Because if it means that we're going to get our voices heard, somebody's going to pay attention to us, even if it was just one person. It was great to see that all of you showed out, but we were definitely going to come out to tell our story. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know this specific tournament here at Ridge has been on the books for a while. I'm curious, what was your initial reaction when you saw it on the calendar here in the United States versus what's the reaction right now that you're actually seeing?
Well, my initial reaction is I was appalled, and then it actually motivated me because for myself, I have silently fought the good fight. What Brett's been doing, he's been amazing in stepping up for most of the families, and Tim, like everybody's been amazing, but I've been silently fighting the fight. And I felt like this was my opportunity to step up along with my children who are now old enough and adults to say, you know what, let's make a stand. And I feel like this was a great, great, great opportunity to be able to do that. So we weren't going to turn this opportunity down.
Brett, if I may, you talked about been here in Oregon, and if you could step away.
Sure.
You talked about been here in Oregon, you've been getting the moral support from the community.
Sure.
That's as far as it's gone for you. You haven't gotten a response from the golfers. What do you want? What action do you want from this?
The best case scenario would be the golfers themselves that have tried to play and live, that they recognize who they're doing business with. So, when some of these golfers dodge the questions, oh, it's just golf, or oh, I'm doing it for my family, or the money's too good, I want them to realize what that means for us. I want the golfers to acknowledge, listen, if Phil Mickelson stands up and says, I don't give a shit about the families, I know what the Saudis did, and I'm taking the money, just acknowledge it. Be a man, step up, accept the truth of who you're getting in bed with. But instead, they don't answer the questions. They dodge the questions. They try to just pretend that we're going to forget, or we're going to somehow be distracted. And, I think accountability and acceptance by these golfers is what we're looking for.
Any further action? Do you want them out of the tournament? Do you want them to pay back the money? Do you want them to donate the money?
Well, they could donate to 911justice.org if they'd like. But yeah, I think, I mean, that would be a great step for them to renounce their membership. Also, let's not forget the PGA Tour members who have said no to the money. I think they deserve recognition. Kudos on them because they understand what it is to have a good conscience. People like Scotty Scheffler, Kevin Kisner, Tiger Woods, you know, Rory McIlroy. These are all great professional golfers. They play at the best levels of competition, and they don't need the Saudi money. And they have a good conscience. So thank you to them as well.
And there's still tournaments going on. What would you say to those golfers if they don't join that?
Carefully think about who you're getting in bed with, who you're doing business with. Listen to us. I invite every golfer that's
meet with us.
You know, contemplating.
Meet with us.
Come sit and meet with us. Let us walk you through the documents. Let us show you what our own FBI has said. And if you still choose to make that decision, we can't stop you, but we want our truth to be out there.
So a lot of these golfers and some of the people involved with it, they say Saudi money's everywhere. You know, there's gas in your car from Saudi. Invest in all these American companies. Why is this different for you guys?
Well, we now have government documents that say the Saudis sent government officials over here to kill our loved ones. So I think, you know, to your point, you know, there are a lot of atrocities committed all over the world. You know, I've heard people question, why aren't we, you know, outraged at the NBA, or, you know, why aren't we talking about China killing the Uyghurs? Why aren't we that's not our platform. That's not our cause. I don't have an FBI document that says China sent Chinese officials here to kill my dad. But I do have an FBI document that says Saudi Arabia sent Saudi Arabian officials here to kill our loved ones.
The president is going to Saudi Arabia this month. Have you sensed any progress towards the relationship there?
Tim, I'm going to let some of these other people answer. I don't want to be the only one speaking today. So,
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The president is going to Saudi Arabia this month. Have you sensed any progress in the relationship?
I honestly, I can't really speak to that. I'm not familiar with that relationship.
You suggested that you wanted justice and accountability. Doesn't that start with the U.S. government, not with the Saudi Arabians?
Well, in our view, it would actually start with Saudi Arabia acknowledging the fact that members within their government, the Islamic Ministry of Affairs, stepped forward almost 20 years ago and acted as a cancer within the kingdom government and murdered our loved ones and attacked America. So for me, and maybe I speak for us, the accountability belongs with the country that financed, conspired, and executed the greatest terrorist attack on American soil.
Hey, to what extent are you worried that this sports washing campaign is or has been successful, or have you been? It seems to me there's been a cloud of scrutiny and protest over this tournament,
which is good.
It's going. So are you encouraged by that the sports washing isn't working, or are you worried?
I think we certainly welcome the protests, and we certainly welcome people asking questions about, you know, the information that's now out there. There's public information out there. These documents are now out there that clearly explain what happened. As many as 12 senior Saudi government officials were sent to the United States, and they planned, plotted, and executed an attack that, in essence, really, the planning for it began in January of 2000 in the United States. And that's in these documents. And I think that's something that a lot of people have read past or haven't read at all. And it's time that, you know, we step forward and we start really reading about the history of Saudi Arabia and how much they were funding the Al-Qaeda network.
Do you guys have any contact with the LIV Golf League themselves?
I don't think we have any. I know I haven't.
Has there been efforts that just haven't been reciprocated, or just?
You want to talk?
So we've tried to reach out to the golfers themselves, but you know, if you have a contact at LIV, I'd be happy to reach out to them as well. But
I'd love to talk to Phil Mickelson. Sincerely, I mean that sincerely. What would you say to him? Well, I think the first thing is, you know, these golfers who have come over to the LIV tournament, they're talented athletes. I understand that. I would question his motivation and his comments about offering the families empathy. You know, help us get justice. Okay, step forward and support the idea that these documents are now public. Stand with us. You can play golf, but you know what? Stand with us and bring attention to what has been hidden and suppressed for almost 21 years.
You know, that's a great point. You know, what I would say to Phil is, how rewarding would it be if you could stand with the families in solidarity and help us achieve justice, Phil? You know, is that worth $200 million? Like, you can make money anywhere you play. Why are you getting in bed with the Saudis? You're a great golfer. Stand with us and do something good.
One other point I just wanted to make real quick. I'm sorry. You know, I don't believe, and I don't think we all believe that the real history of 9/11 has been written yet. You know, and that's part of these documents. And I think that, you know, we're all open to talking to anyone to help them understand what exactly happened, who these 12 senior Saudi government officials were, where they were, when they moved around. And, you know, we've won all of that discovery. And these documents, thankfully, have been pushed out by an executive order by President Biden, and the families are eternally grateful for that executive order, which happened a year ago, almost a year ago now. So there's been a ray of sun on that. Now it's time, I think, for LIV golfers and the American public to begin to understand what exactly happened here. Because I think there's a lot of information out there that people are not aware of yet, and we're trying to get that out.
You know, to follow up on Tim's point, it's not just us saying this. Senator Wyden, Senator Blumenthal, Senator Booker, Senator Menendez, every one of these senators have seen these documents, and they also are saying what we're saying. So we're not standing here talking about conspiracy theories. We're talking about real information, real documents that members of the U.S. Senate, members of the House, members of Congress recognize. And, you know, we are here to present that information. Hopefully we can get that information into the hands of these golfers that are choosing to go play and live.